No-Leakage reps and anti-sandbagging explained English for M&A contracts. In transactions, A. No leakage. Representation protects the buyer by promising there are no undisclosed liabilities or drains on value. This matters because buyers rely on what they're told. If liabilities appear after signing, the buyer can suffer unexpected losses. By shifting risk to the seller, the representation makes the seller responsible for hidden problems that should have been disclosed. It also creates a clear baseline for breach claims. If a liability isn't listed, the buyer has a stronger claim. These clauses are especially essential in M&A and asset deals, where unseen obligations can change purchase economics overnight. A common formulation is that the seller represents there are no liabilities, except those expressly listed in a disclosure schedule. That schedule is the contract's roadmap. It identifies exceptions the buyer accepts. The effectiveness of the wording often depends on defined materiality and a specific cutoff date for disclosures. Anything arising after that date is treated differently. Critically, the representation's language must match the contract's disclosure mechanics. If the representative references a schedule, the schedule's format and cross-references must make clear what's included and excluded to avoid surprises. Vague drafting invites disputes. Words like material or broad catch-alls create room for disagreement about what was meant. Conflicts between the main representation and the disclosure schedules, such as an uncovered liability listed in a schedule that contradicts a rep, create leaks buyers and sellers will fight over. Missing or incomplete definitions allow sellers to argue for a narrow scope. Conversely, buyers may claim expansive meanings. The solution is precision. Well-defined terms, consistent cross-references, and specific lists reduce ambiguity and lower litigation risk down the road. An anti-sandbagging clause controls whether a buyer can sue for breaches it knew about before closing. Some deals permit sandbagging. Buyers can bring claims even if they had knowledge, while others prohibit it, meaning known pre-closing breaches are waived. Jurisdictions differ, so the contract must explicitly state whether buyer knowledge prevents claims and whether knowledge requires written notice. Drafting should reflect commercial intent. If the parties want to allocate risk to the seller even for known issues, permit claims. If the buyer accepted known risks, prohibit them. Clarity prevents surprise disputes after closing. Disclosures function as carve-outs. Items specifically disclosed are excluded from the seller's general no-leakage promise. Well-structured disclosure schedules that use itemized lists and clear cross-references limit ambiguity and make it easy to see what's excluded. Avoid broad, catch-all reservation language that undermines the rep's purpose. Also define the disclosure standard. Does disclosure turn on seller knowledge, materiality, or objective specificity? Clear standards ensure parties know whether an item truly qualifies as a disclosure and prevent disputes about whether a liability was effectively carved out. Drafting with precision starts by defining key terms like liability, knowledge, and material. Tie each representation to specific schedules and dates so parties know the relevant snapshot in time. Specify the disclosure standard, actual, constructive, or known, so it's clear how honest or exhaustive disclosures must be. Where useful, include examples and reference specific records or ESI sources that the seller should have reviewed. These techniques reduce interpretive gaps and make enforcement straightforward rather than an exercise in semantic wrestling. Negotiation is where legal drafting meets commercial reality. Decide who bears post-closing, pre-remedy risk, the buyer or seller. Consider using escrows, liability caps, and survival periods to allocate financial exposure. Choose an anti-sandbagging stance based on bargaining leverage. Buyers with leverage may insist on permitting claims. Sellers may insist on prohibitions or narrowing language. Be explicit about what buyer knowledge does, whether it waives claims or requires disclosure, and how waivers are affected. Clear, negotiated trade-offs reduce later rancor and align risk with price. Clear contracts combine precise representations with specific disclosure schedules to minimize leaks. Define key terms and disclosure standards up front so both sides know the scope of promises and exceptions. Align your anti-sandbagging language with how you want the deal's risk split to operate. Don't rely on jurisdictional defaults. Use examples, itemized lists, and tight cross-references in schedules to reduce interpretive disputes. In short, specificity, consistency, and commercial alignment turn abstract protections into enforceable, predictable contract outcomes that protect value for both buyer and seller.